Lights down, heart open. Tonight on Silent Fame, 6 rule breakers prove honesty is hotter than any red carpet. Chris Salvatore turning care into cinema, Hugh Sheridan refusing labels, Tyler Blackburn naming the gray, TJ Osborne widening country's chorus, Blake McIver reinventing in sequins, and Billy Haynes choosing love over a studio lie. Watch to the end, hit subscribe plus the bell, and drop the name that moved you. Because visibility isn't scandal here, it's legacy. 1. Chris Salvatore, the boy next door who chose care. Over clout, Hollywood loves a perfect jawline. Chris Salvatore gave it something braver, a public act of tenderness. Yes, he's the flirty breakout from the Eating Out films, the kind of man who can turn a camera into a co-conspirator with one raised eyebrow. But the moment that rewired his legend wasn't a premiere. It was a hallway. When his elderly neighbor needed help, Chris didn't send thoughts and prayers. He opened his door, organized support, and shouldered the everyday labor of love. Groceries, meds, meals, soft jokes at 2 a.m. under a kitchen light. That choice became a beacon for queer masculinity that isn't afraid to be seen nurturing as well as smoldering. In a town that often rewards the pose, he delivered the promise, showing up, staying in, making care look like glamour's truest twin. He kept creating too. Music, indie roles, content that says the body can be beautiful and the heart can be busy at the same time. You can hear the quiet rebellion in it. We are allowed to be sexy and soft, outrageous and ordinary, thirsty and thoughtful. If you've ever been told your tenderness makes you smaller, Chris is the counterexample. Proof that intimacy, public and unapologetic, expands you. The industry likes to whisper that kindness isn't marketable. The internet answered by passing the hat and passing along the clip. There's a reason so many fans talk about him like he's a rom-com lead who wandered off the set and into real life. He refuses the false choice between being looked at and being known. That's the heat here. Not just the angle of the jaw, but the angle of the ethic. Desire with a conscience, glam with a grocery list, West Hollywood glitz meeting a human-scale miracle in a small apartment with a stubborn cat and a louder laugh. That's the kind of scene that doesn't fade, it lingers. If kindness as a flex hits harder than abs, smash subscribe, ring the bell, and drop one for Chris in the comments. 2. Hugh Sheridan, labels are for clothes, desire is for living Australia tried to summarize Hugh Sheridan. Hugh replied with a mood board. Actor, singer, dancer, mischief maker. Then, with a restless kind of grace, a person who said the quiet part out loud. Sometimes the truest label is none at all. When they spoke about loving beyond categories, it wasn't a headline stunt. It was a breath you could hear from across the ocean. That honesty sparked friction, because visibility can bless and bruise in the same week. And yet, they kept the posture that matters. Shoulders back, voice clear, heart unpixelated. The industry loves a neat box. Hugh wears silhouettes that refuse straight lines. That shows up in the work, switching from TV sweetheart to stage electricity. And in the wardrobe. Tux today, sequins tomorrow, a wink that says gender is a lens, not a leash. When a high-profile casting intersected with community pain and the production paused, Hugh didn't disappear. They listened, learned, and kept insisting on a future where nuance isn't treated like a scandal. That's the quiet revolution, choosing complexity over choreography, reality over PR geometry. You watch them move through a room and realize what's actually being modeled isn't a look, it's permission. Permission for artists to show up whole, for audiences to ask better questions, for desire to be allowed its full weather instead of a forecast with sunny icons only. Hugh's message travels like a club track into sunrise. Let the body be a sentence with commas, not a period. Let style be biography. Let love be plural. If you've ever felt the pressure to perform one version of yourself for safety, for work, for approval, Hugh is a living rejection of that casting call. Their sparkle is not a cover, it's a thesis, and it's contagious. If art beats labels in your book, hit subscribe and type human in all caps below. 3. Tyler Blackburn. Buy, bold, and done. Asking permission for years, Tyler Blackburn was the slow burn on your screen. The rebel eyes, the trouble mouth kiss, the heartbeat under the leather. Then he put something riskier than a storyline into the world. Truth. He named his bisexuality with a gentleness that cut deeper than any scandal. Talking about shame, about the smallness you learn to live in when culture keeps handing you either or. Tyler didn't deliver a press release version of himself. He offered the gray space as a garden, not a compromise. The beauty of it is how ordinary he makes it feel. He still walks red carpets, still messes up his hair like he woke up handsome on purpose, still picks roles that let him smolder and break a little. But now the gaze is honest. He looks at the audience the way he looks at the world. Not as a jury, but as a possibility. That recalibration matters. Bi men are too often treated as a plot twist or a phase. He plays visibility as a practice. On social feeds, in interviews, he keeps turning on lights in rooms that used to feel locked. The ripple effect shows up in DMs you'll never read. Teenagers who finally have a word that fits. Grown men realizing they don't have to amputate history to claim happiness. Tyler doesn't argue. He exists beautifully, and the argument dissolves. That's the temperature shift. Less debate, more daylight. He teaches by doing, wear the jacket, kiss the person, write the poem, go to work. Desire in his hands isn't a confession booth, it's a language. And the more fluently he speaks it, the more fluent the culture becomes. He's still the crush, sure, but he's also the compass, pointing toward a life where honesty is not a risk, it's a right. If bi visibility matters, hit subscribe and comment bisexual and beautiful so the algorithm hears us. 4. TJ Osborne, country gold, closet broken Nashville sells 3 chords and the truth until your truth is a boyfriend. TJ Osborne walked into that quiet rulebook and tore out the most brittle page. When he came out publicly, the earth under country music didn't crack with scandal so much as it exhaled. A barn door finally swinging open, dust lifting, sunlight finding corners that had been dark for decades. He didn't rebrand or relaunch. He refused to split himself in half for anyone's comfort, and then did the most country thing imaginable, sing about real life and let the song carry the freight. But the before times mattered. There were years of small edits and careful pronouns, of interviews that felt like choreography, of green room calculus about which stories could be told. Country radio, gate-kept by what will the audience think, built an invisible fence around intimacy. TJ climbed it anyway. The day he said it out loud, you could feel 2 forces collide. An industry married to tradition, and an artist who realized tradition means nothing if it won't make room at the table for the people singing grace. The result? Ovations in rooms not known for softness, a love song that lands without translation. Men in ball caps and women in church dresses crying in the same chorus because the melody finally matched the world they actually live in. In small towns, fans heard their mirror on a mainstream stage and realized the station preset they grew up with still belongs to them. That's culture work, converting suspicion into applause one verse at a time. It wasn't painless. There were closed doors, cold shoulders, a few not nows. But the math changed. The honesty was heavier than the fear, and he chose the heavier thing. He still wears razor-sharp suits and a guitar like a promise. He still sounds like gravel and honey. What shifted is the camera's eye. It lets him be. In a genre chained to family values, he widened the family. Brothers by blood, brothers by band, and brothers and sisters by the old covenant of country itself. Tell the truth, and let harmony do the lifting. If you want to know what courage looks like offstage, it's two men dancing on live TV while the crowd keeps time. If you want to know what progress sounds like, it's a steel guitar and a cheer. If authenticity is the most country thing there is, subscribe and drop a rainbow in the chat. 5. Blake McIver. From child prodigy to cabaret confessional. You knew him as that preppy, razor-cheekbone kid from Full House and The Little Rascals, the one who could out-enunciate an adult and charm a laugh track on cue. Then, the credits cut, and life kept rolling. Hollywood nostalgia is a velvet trap. It wants you embalmed in your cutest frame. Blake McIver did something ruder and braver. He grew. He came out, and with it came a cascade of reckonings. Typecasting that calcified whispers about marketability, the quiet gatekeeping that greets queer men who refuse to play coy. He didn't fold. He turned survival into a stage. Cabaret became the confessional, jokes used like scalpels, torch songs aimed at old shame, high notes thrown like lifelines to the teenager watching from the cheap seats. He's honest about the grind, the side jobs, the hustle, the glitter that is sometimes grit. He's told the unglamorous truth that an album takes money and stamina and, occasionally, go-go boots. That dignity and desire can share a mic. That sequins can be armor and melody can be memoir. He sings like a chandelier falling in love with a dim bar, and he talks with the warmth of someone who clawed their way back to joy and now keeps a chair open for you at the table. What makes his arc burn brighter is the refusal to be a museum piece. He honors the kid on camera, then insists on being a man with a say. The sexuality isn't a subplot, it's the spotlight, claimed, crafted, and delivered with a wink that says, desire isn't dirty, it's disciplined. Watch him teach, mentor, and raise money for queer youth. See how the show keeps spilling off the stage into the lives it touches. That's the thesis. Entertainment as CPR. And here's the part Hollywood hates. Reinvention proves they never owned you. Blake's second act isn't an apology or a rebrand. It's a biography written in real time, sharper ink, better lighting. To anyone reduced to their first success, he is the counterspell. Take the narrative back. Change the key. Modulate into the life that warms you. The applause will follow the truth. It always does, eventually. If glow-ups fueled by truth are your jam, subscribe and type, sing it. Blake below. 6. William Billy Haynes, the leading man who refused the lie before hashtags, before openly gay could headline a press release, Hollywood had William Billy Haynes, the matinee idol who loved a man named Jimmy Shields and dared to love him in daylight. In the 1930s, the studio system was a cathedral with a million rules, and MGM's most sacred one was simple. Sell romance on screen, fake it off. When Louis B. Mayer demanded a sham marriage to protect the box office, Haynes chose the real one. Unlegal, unrecognized, unbreakable. The blacklist was swift. Overnight, he went from top-billed to untouchable. But here's the plot twist. He refused erasure and built another empire from sofas and sunlight. Haynes re-engineered glamour as an interior designer, filling the homes of Hollywood's elite with a style as bold as his defiance. His parties became legend. His wit was surgical. His loyalty to Jimmy was the kind of vow that doesn't need paperwork. Friends, among them Joan Crawford, called them the happiest couple in town. In an era when queer love could be a career ender or a police matter, they turned endurance into elegance and carved out an outlaw domesticity where the glamorous, the scared, and the in-between found refuge. Look closely, and you'll see the outlines of our present traced in their past. Chosen family, public discretion with private abundance, art as a shield and a sword. Billy's fall from studio grace became a blueprint. Prove you can't be erased by refusing to erase yourself. The price was real. Lost roles, cold shoulders, the ache of watching lesser men take the screen you once commanded. But the payoff was greater. A life lived whole, a love lived long, a house perpetually full of laughter and lilies even when the world outside chose silence. When Billy died in 1973, Jimmy followed months later, undone by absence, a last love letter written in grief. Every outstar who signs a contract today walks through a door first pried open by two men arranging a room to fit their life. That isn't trivia, that's inheritance. Remember them when headlines feel loud and progress feels slow. Their love was the long game. We're living in it. If you felt your chest lift at any moment, that's the point. Visibility saves, tenderness scales, and courage trends longer than any headline. Chris proved care is cinematic. Hugh made nuance a superpower. Tyler turned both and into a map. TJ tuned country to a fuller key. Blake showed reinvention is revenge. Billy and Jimmy wrote the original blueprint. Love outlasts the blacklist. Your turn. Tell us whose chapter you'll carry into tomorrow and why. Comment with a if kindness hits harder than abs, a if country truth changed your mind, or a for the legends who walked so we could run. Subscribe, ring the bell, and share this with someone who needs proof that being seen and being soft can be the same victory. This is Silent Fame, where the pose ends, the person begins.